What is up, guys? Welcome to week 4 of our podcast. We upped our production quality a little bit, so we're going through
Just a bit.
YouTube instead of Instagram Live. How's it going, Ryan? How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Having a pretty good week.
Yeah.
Not in poker necessarily, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah, we're both having a pretty rough week. I don't know. I mean, I think we deal with it pretty well. We use our off time to do other things. Bryce and I have rediscovered Fortnite a bit. People who play Xbox are still garbage at it, so it's a lot of fun.
Very much so. Yeah, Fortnite's a good way to de-tilt. We both
Right,
had horrible
absolutely.
nights Sunday.
Yeah.
And so in a little, we'll be having Evan on our podcast. But before we do that, we want to just discuss angle shooting. So I don't know how many of you guys follow Bart Hansen, but he released a video of angle shooting, and I think it's worth the watch. So we're going to pull that up real quick, and let's watch it. Oh my gosh, this lag. Wow, this is not good.
I'm surprised.
It was fine earlier. We are
Yeah,
gonna
those
try
running.
one last time. Good thing there's a whole ass one person watching right now, and I'm pretty sure it's me. So I don't think we actually have anyone watching this live yet. So that's good. There we are. Evan's here. All right, Evan. We're just bringing up the angle shooting video quick, and Twitter's deciding to lag, so that's great. Okay, long story short, we're just gonna explain it because that
Yeah,
does
go
not seem
ahead,
to be
explain it.
working. So the guy claims that he had aces on this deuce deuce for queen six board, and the other guy mucks his hand, and this is $11,000 pot, and he ends up flipping his hand over, but the guy was already tilted and didn't even see it, so he ends up scooping this pot because he lied about his hand. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Ryan?
I mean, this is wow. It's hard to even fathom this. Like, sure, you can jokingly like say, "Oh, I have aces," but when the pot gets pushed your way, if you don't turn over your card, and say, "Hey, man, I'm joking," like you were good with your threes or whatever he had. You can't do that. Like then when someone questions you about it and goes, "Wait a minute, you just tabled 7-8," like why are you taking the money? To then defend yourself and say, no, no, no. I mean, I said I had aces. He mucked his hand. It hit the muck, so technically it's out.
Yeah, the
That's
guy didn't even
crazy.
seem too upset about it. So I've seen some crazy stuff. I think I told you about the time CJ had the best hand and one of his cards like fell off the table and they ruled his hand dead. So I think the rules almost vary by casino.
I think they do.
Yeah, so I just think that's so scummy. And the guy seemingly didn't even feel bad about it. He's just like, yeah, so like what do you think about this? And Bart just like laughed in his face and was like, wait, are you serious?
Yeah, that's the funny part, and like
Ridiculous.
that's the sad part that we don't get to show you, because literally the best part of this is Bart's reaction when the guy is like, "Yeah, so I just dragged the pot in." Bart goes,
And then he's
"What?"
like, yeah, no, I waited a little to cash out, but
Yeah, yeah. He's like, "Oh, I waited in orbit, then I just cashed it out." And then Bart's like, then he just loses his mind. He's just like, "What? You can't do that."
it was
He's
pretty
right. You
ridiculous.
can't do that.
But yeah, so aside from that in poker news, obviously there's another Galfond challenge. He's going against Jungleman, so that's going to be pretty sick to see. Who you
Yeah,
got?
I'm not surprised. I mean, Jungleman would be the next person in line to take that challenge. I think, other than Patrick Antonius, I can't really think of any other online grinders who'd probably want to take that craziness. Um, wow, I've watched a lot of Jungleman and not a lot of Phil Galfond, which is
Hmm.
funny. Like, I think just because Jungleman's on a lot more of the TV stuff. Like, I've been going back through like the party poker sit and go tournament things. Those were fun. So I see a lot of him play. I would only see him play No Limit Hold'em though. So to speak about his Omaha game, I can't. So for that, I mean, like, I think he's great at No Limit, but I don't know how he is at Omaha. So I'll give the edge to Galfond.
Yeah, aside from yeah, the PLO that I watched in the Galfond challenge, I really am not an experienced PLO player. Obviously, I've been getting into it
Neither of
more
us
as
are.
of late. But
Yeah, we're having fun
thankfully,
with it. We're learning, but we're definitely not that good yet.
exactly. Our guest today is a PLO player, so I'd like to welcome Evan, aka I'm a Bot, to the podcast. Evan has been a huge
Sure.
influencer in my poker life. He's been there to both review hands with me and to cheer me up when I go through the inevitable downswings. He's an online crusher, and in the club we play together, he's up roughly 16,000 big blinds in 6 weeks. So without further ado, Evan, welcome to the stream.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for
Pretty
having me.
good. Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. Thanks. That was a really generous intro.
That was really beautiful.
Of course, yeah.
Shed a quick
So
tear.
we're gonna start just by asking you some background questions, then we'll go into a minute of rapid fire questions, and then we'll do some hand histories with you. So first, we'd just like to ask you where you're from.
I'm from Florida. Yeah, it's where I live now too.
Awesome. What part of Florida?
I grew up around Cocoa Beach, so around like just east of Orlando.
Okay, awesome. So for the listeners who don't know, I used to live in Naples, so it's cool to have that Florida connection. So
That's
when I go
wild.
visit friends or family, I'll definitely go grind with Evan.
Oh yeah, sure.
So what's the main game that you play, and what stakes?
So yeah, so I play a mix of equal parts PLO and No Limit Hold'em. Live, I play like 95% No Limit Hold'em. So that's my live game. Now I'm kind of making the transition into playing 2-5 live, and then I'm just do micro stake stuff with PLO, except for some occasions. We'll take shots every once in a while.
Makes sense. Shot
Can I
taking's
ask a
important.
quick question about that? So you just
Yeah.
quick big important thing, you're making a jump in stakes. What makes you feel comfortable to jump from whatever stake you were to 2-5? Do you think you're just ready for it, or is the roll there? What is it? Oh, you muted yourself, by the way.
My bad. There you go.
You're good.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it's a combination of a lot of things. I wanted to be to prove to myself that I can grind up a certain amount of money in like 1-2 and 1-3, and then after I've had a decent sample and I feel really comfortable there, and I have the bankroll, then it's a progression, right? So it's like, all right, when my bankroll hits 10K, then I'm going to start taking. Then I'm going to take a shot, right? And then it's like, okay, and then when I hit 11K, I'm going to take another shot, and then it like progresses up and up and up, and then once I have the role that I think I need according to my skill level, that's when I move up permanently.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you play all cash, or are you play any tournaments? Because I mean, like, I haven't gotten the chance to play too much tournament wise.
I'm mainly cash. Yeah, that's like where I do most of my grinding. I'll grind anywhere from 50 to 100 hours a month playing cash games. And every once in a while, if I'm with a friend who's like new to the game, or like online, I'll do some cash too. But some tournaments. That's because I can do cash at the same time.
Makes sense.
It's
Variance
nice.
is definitely lower, and while you're trying to grind up a bankroll, you almost want to view tournaments as shot taking, unless you're on these clubs that are really soft and you have a very big edge. Then obviously it's good to fire in every single tournament you can.
Right.
But that makes sense. I know we've talked about live tournaments and how you generally have stayed away from them, but hopefully in the future, as your bankroll gets up and you start to play them more, you get the tournament itch, because I know I definitely have gotten it more in the last few months.
I think I've literally started to get it from playing online, and I'm pretty excited to see what happens when I go back to live. So
for sure, yeah.
Evan, you got to join us.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start playing a few more live tournaments. Absolutely.
Awesome. So you answered one of my questions, which was how many hours you grind a week. But what are your short-term poker goals? Is that just to grind up the roll and have fun with it, or do you have any monetary goals, or is it just making good decisions, or what kind of goals do you set for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my goals aren't normally based around money. It's usually like I do have money goals, but most of my short-term goals, like really short-term goals, just have to do with decision making most of the time. Being able to have my mental game in the right spot in order for me to make good decisions, right? And so that consists of like there's a lot of meditation that happens like before I go in for a session, a lot of study that happens, a lot of preparation. I try to treat poker a lot like a professional athlete would like treat something, right? And that's like, all right, I'm not just going to run onto the basketball court and just start playing the game, right? It's like I'm going to be like warming up for the hour before. I'm going to like make sure I'm mentally there, I'm physically there. So So those are a lot of my short-term goals, but there's a lot of pre-game preparation.
For sure, and I think a lot of rec players neglect that, and also just the studying aspect. I mean, obviously, it's kind of higher level to be doing that meditation and all that, very important. And I find that when I'm not working out, I also just don't play as well. I feel like I just physically, or if I'm hungry or tired, I mean, obviously
agree.
these little things, they just can go a long way, and you just need to be very cognizant of how you're feeling, both physically and mentally. And I think that meditation is huge.
Mm-hmm. Bryce, you want to hit him with the rapid fires?
Yeah. So the first question is, what is your longest session ever?
Oh man, about 20 hours.
Wow, was that live or online?
Live.
Gotcha.
Damn.
What is your go-to drink at the bar?
I don't know if I have one. Water?
Water. Oh,
Oh
no.
God. I guess there's no local Florida beer. I'm a New England IPA snob.
Oh,
IPAs.
nice.
There's no good beer in Florida.
Not really.
Got all the beers. All right, who's your favorite poker player to watch?
Garrett Alstein, I like him a lot.
I love
Ooh.
him.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah, no, I love him. I also like. I don't know. Ivy's like one of my. He's just like such a legend, man. Like that, I love watching that guy play. I don't think there's.
Yeah. We talked about this recently, how it's sad, like his role, he's being backed and all those cases against him. We have no idea how much money, if any, he has. It seems like he's pretty deep in the hole right now, which is just sad because how amazing of a player and how smart of a guy he is.
Yeah, he was abroad, though. He was tearing it up in some high rollers abroad right before Corona got so bad. Like
And
the
we
last
think he lost
tournament
all that
was out
money,
there.
though. Like,
Yeah,
I think they was
it's
seized.
crazy.
That's the thing. It's like I think that's why he's playing overseas. I don't want to dive too deep into an Ivy thing, but
Right.
I think that's why he was playing. He plays overseas now is because the U.S. can't seize his winnings that way, and playing in Russia or something, they're definitely not going to send over any Ivy money to the U.S.
Yeah.
No way. Not sending him a tax form.
No.
So we got 2 questions left. Sushi or Chinese food?
Wait, say what?
Sushi or Chinese food?
Bryce can't talk.
I can't talk.
Sushi all day.
Wrong answer. All right, the last question. What do you think is more intimidating, your muscles or my poker playing ability?
Oh, your poker playing ability for sure. Are you kidding?
I mean, I thought that was the obvious answer, but I didn't know if you get a little cocky on me.
The gyms are close. Like it's your poker playing ability.
Wow.
Well, thank you for gassing me up on my podcast. I very much appreciate that.
Oh my
So we're gonna go into the hands, and this first one is a live hand for Evan. It's 1-2, and I will pull it up now.
Yeah, Evan,
Alrighty.
we'll just kind of let you go ahead and give us a little bit of background on the opponents, and if you want to just go through the pre-flop action, and we'll stop you before the flop.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. There you go. All right. All right. So yeah, I'm in the big blind. And my opponent is in.
So bad beat Bryce is actually Evan. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So I'm in the big blind. My opponent is in middle position. There's I think 1 or 2 limpers ahead of the middle position villain. And then the villain raises to 12. He was a really active player, not like super recreational. Him and I had got he was like shoving ace queen pre-flop against my kings earlier in the session. Like it was like that kind of thing. Like he was really crazy. Just a little background on him. But cutoff calls, small blind folds, and then it's to me in the big blind, and I don't see any reason to raise here. So I flat. And I think one of the limpers flats.
Right,
One
one of
calls,
them
one folds.
Or well, yeah, one of them. Yeah, exactly.
So I think this is pretty standard raise, standard call. Not too much to discuss pre-flop.
I think because it's 1-2, I mean, he did raise to 12.
It was after a limper, though. I mean, the standard is 3 or 4, and then you add. It was after 2 limpers, actually. So I think 12 is very standard.
Never mind.
Yeah. So the flop is pretty favorable. Queen 7-4, 2 spades, and I'll let Evan go from there.
Yeah. Obviously, this is a really good flop for me. So I check. the the previous limper checks, and then the villain bets $45. The cutoff folds. First, this is like a really big size, or not? Yeah, I mean this is a big size. I mean it's like a full pot size bet almost. And so at this point, I'm thinking he either has an overpair or a queen, and so I'm thinking, okay, this is fine. I'm going to slow play this and see what he does on the turn, and so I call.
Yeah,
so I flat. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I think pretty standard. I think queens, ace queen, ace king with spades in your hand, something of that nature, obviously, is the range that he's repping. Did you consider raising here? If so, why? And I totally understand flatting, but do you think there's a merit for raising? Obviously, he's signaling strength, and it doesn't seem like he's bluffing here. So do you think that you could get a ton of value from a hand like ace queen if you raise here?
So yeah, I think I can raise there and have that be I mean, obviously, it's hard to screw up a hand where you're where you flop the set. But in this spot, I didn't raise because I didn't feel like my hand needed much protecting against his range. Obviously, if he has aces or kings, like he's in a really tough spot. If he has queens, I'm gonna get stacked anyway, probably. And then if if he's bluffing, like I basically let him continue to bluff if he's going. So yeah, that was kind of my reasoning behind not check raising him in that spot.
Makes sense. So just a backstory. I know you can see the villain's hand here, but we're actually almost looking at this hand from the villain's perspective because we want to see if the river decision he makes is correct. So the future hands will not show what the villain's hand is. So Evan's line here I do like. I think if there was a more obvious straight draw, like if the board was queen jack 9 2 spades, I would look to be or queen jack 7, I'd be looking to raise that more. Right. But because it's lower cards, I think that he's totally fine just flatting here, and hopefully we don't see a spade on the turn.
Yeah, I think also as we move on to the turn that in these spots, depending upon the opponent, you can make partially that decision. So, if seat 3 is pretty snug, I don't think anyone's, no one's psycho enough to lay down top on this flop, but that you're not going to be able to get much out of him later. When you think a check raise, when the pot's bigger on the turn, might get you more money.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Makes
exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
So the turn comes and it brings a queen of hearts. So
Cash.
Pretty good turn card. And obviously he checks it over. Villain bets 45. So what's going through your head once he bets this turn?
Oh yeah. So obviously I'm not going to get too graphic with what my thoughts were in the moment, but I was happy. I was excited. All right. So at the time, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, great. Me and this guy are, how deep? We're almost 400 big blinds deep at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, we got to start thinking about how we're going to get this money in. And so when I check, I'm obviously planning to check raise. And when he bets 45, I'm pretty much sure that he has a queen at this point. At this point, I'm like,
yeah. He shouldn't even be betting aces or kings here. He bets small. Yeah. He still could have aces or kings.
That's what I'm saying. Is it odd how small he bets?
So I actually saw that. I actually saw that as him trying to get thin value. So I was like, man, I think he's trying to get value from me here. Which if he's trying to get value from me, that means he definitely has a queen. And so at this point, I'm just resisting the urge to just jam, right, as we want to. But because I know he has a queen at this point almost all the time, and so obviously I look at my stack. I think, okay, so we're still pretty deep here. I need to make a check raise, but one that's going to set up an easy river shove.
Right.
So basically, I check raise into 200, thinking that at that price he's never going to fold a queen, if he will ever fold a queen, and then he folds.
Yeah, so you've picked a huge sizing, obviously, and it totally sets up the river shove. I almost think you went a little big, because if he does have ace king of spades or something of that nature, or even ace queen of spades, obviously he's never laying down ace queen of spades, but if he has like ace king of spades, I think that if you go to 200, I think you fold that out. So I think the hands that you're getting to call you are the ace queens, king queens, but I think queen jack folds here. I think if he has queen jack and it's not queen jack of spades, I think he can find a laydown to a price of 200.
I agree.
I don't think you
queen jack,
raise
queen
here
10.
with just like ace five of spades or something like that. Like unless you've just had a psycho table image, I don't know if he calls this huge turn raise. Obviously he does, and it works out for you because he's at top of his range. But yeah, I think it's almost a little big, but it does set up the river shove, which is what you wanted to accomplish. So if you get that full value, awesome.
Right. I just think it's more because his turn bet here is so small that the pot's not big enough for this $200 sizing. And like that's the struggle is like you want to go for 200 because you want to set up your river jam, but he didn't bet enough for it to at least look reasonable because it's now, more than the pot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what Bryce said. I think you price out draws here a lot of the time, so he's only going to be calling with queens. And considering you've correctly put him on a queen, and he's not going to show up with queen 7 or queen 4 here ever. Please, I hope you're good. Yeah, I think that's fine.
So let's see a river. River is a brick. I don't know if he even submitted what exactly the card was, but he did. It was a deuce of clubs. He said.
I remember what card that was. I remember. I was happy.
Yeah, so
Right.
Obviously he just rips it. Or did he? Yeah, and he gets a call.
That's interesting. So you didn't opt to check because I mean.
Oh, no, I don't think he can check here ever.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. You're not checking here ever with a boat. But, it's interesting that you went all in. So I guess, you check raise turn. Now you shove river. It's... I'm amazed that this guy made this call with ace queen because
so that's the main point of the submission. Do you think that he can call with ace queen here?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Evan, you answer that question first.
Okay, yeah. So that was the thing that I was really, really interested in. I immediately, obviously for me, this is not a tough spot. Like, it's easy when you turn a boat and ram it into, top trips, right? So it's like, okay. But, the thing for me is that it's like, can I get away from this if I'm him? And I think that against an unknown player, I don't know. It's so hard because he knew that I was like a semi-competent player.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he thought of me, what he thought that meant, right? If he thought that meant that I have more bluffs in my range now because I'm a decent player, like I can actually, I can be bluffing with like a 5-6 of spades or
right.
something like that. But I think exploitatively, I would probably be able to lay this down. But I just don't think. I guess the question comes to: is Queen Jack shoving here? Like,
yeah.
Is King Queen shoving out of position here? And I think the answer is probably not.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I find a fold with ace queen.
Right.
Absolutely not. And I think obviously it boils down to who the player is. If like Brady or a certain someone plays a hand like this, you're snapping him off with ace queen. But you don't have that many combos of bluffs. Like you said,
that's what I'm saying. There's no
5-6 of spades, or maybe
here.
like ace 5 of spades that just decides to psycho barrel. But that's not going to happen often.
Right. That's the thing is your range is pretty capped when you flat out of the big blind pre-flop.
7s, 4s, ace X
right.
suited,
7s,
5-6
4s
suited.
make a lot of sense. Like I mean, if you took this line, and he looked back from the river, he would probably say, if he looked at the pre-flop action, wow, 7s and 4s would make a lot of sense here. And I don't know like how he doesn't, take that into account because those combinations exist and they make a lot of sense here. They make more sense to me than 5-6 suited, because why does 5-6 suited check raise turn?
And it makes a lot more sense that, that I have 7s or 4s than it does for me to have Queen Jack or King.
Exactly.
And that was, and to give him credit, I actually like this guy. That's the funny thing. He was in the casino with like literally head to toe in Miami Dolphins.
Love a Dolphins fan.
Gotta love it.
So I felt bad for him in that sense too.
Yep.
Like, you can't even win. And so he was going through it for about 2 minutes. He went through. He's like, man, do you really have sevens here? Like, is this really like it's such a huge cooler? Like, whatever. And I obviously in a spot like that, I take the like don't say anything approach.
Yeah, I think that's
Good
a
approach.
smart move.
I've made that mistake one too many times.
I've made it both ways, like where it works out, and I talked him into a call, and I talked him out of a call, and like
Me
you know.
too.
But I didn't say anything to him, and I knew as like the time went on, the more likely it was for him to call.
Right.
And because he just couldn't take it anymore. Like he had to see it. He can't. He's looking at ace queen. He flipped over ace queen before he called, and for about a minute, he's just sitting there with his hand face up, like just talking about it, like thinking whatever. And then,
I hate it when people do that though, because then you might get someone who else at the table to say something. And what happens
Yeah,
if
but
someone
I
else
don't
at the table
care.
says
I don't
something?
care. I've never heard someone be like, "Oh, I folded a queen." They might say something like, "Dude, how haven't you called?" Which totally not allowed.
Yeah, totally
And I
not
feel
allowed.
like-
I'm just concerned someone's going to say something, right? When someone tables their hand. But anyway,
Yeah.
That's fair.
yeah, absolutely.
but I get it. He's trying to rationalize the call. It's good for you. It's great for you when he turns over his hand, because that means he's not just throwing it in the muck. It's just like, oh well, he's
No,
gonna
but
call.
I don't hate him doing it. I mean, I'd be way more inclined to do this at a home game and try to
I
get
agree.
information from
I
people
agree.
because I feel like I'm pretty good at just probing people. But live, I don't try to do that nearly as much. And definitely on Evan's end, I would just keep my mouth shut, especially for such a big pot.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I mean, I think you played the hand well. Turn maybe a little big, but at the same time, set up the river shove. You got max value. You had a better sense of the table, I'm sure. So nice hand, and
Yeah.
hopefully you have more boats in your future.
Hope so.
All right, so this next hand, I'm assuming this was a different session.
Yeah, this was a different section. Yeah.
All right, so we're 200 deep in a 1-2 game, and let's see what he picks up. Jack 10 off. Okay.
Ooh boy.
This will be fun. So I believe there's a raise from the Maniac. Yeah, Maniac makes it 12 on the
So there's a
button.
limper and then
Evan
Maniac.
decides to call, and then the Pro raises to 35. So let's first just go over you flatting on the button with Jack 10 off. Obviously, it's a little loose of a play, but I'm assuming you just want to isolate this Maniac, and if you hit, you make a lot of money. But feel free to share your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Maniac, I have a good amount of history with him. He loves to pull off a lot of big bluffs and just do really kind of, I don't want to say dumb things, but just things that, I don't know, things that a really good player or like a professional is not going to ever do. And so yeah, I was definitely looking to play a pot in position with him. And I could have raised, but I also felt like we weren't very deep. I mean, we're only 100 big blinds deep, and so I was a little worried about that factor as well. But yeah, so that was my reason behind flatting.
Yeah, I'm about to
Makes
ask the
sense.
question: if it's Jack 10 of clubs, if you're suited here, are you raising?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's good or not.
I think
but
it's probably bottom of, well, not really bottom. Like you're on the button, so you can be a little looser. But right, you're talking about being short stack, so you probably don't want to take initiative with Jack 10 suited, just because you're so short.
Right. Yeah.
So once the Pro raises to 35, I mean, and you get the Maniac calls, you can't go anywhere. I mean, it sucks because it's 35 of your 200 stack, so I wouldn't be looking to play Jack 10 this short, but you kind of price yourself
That
in.
was the peril of flatting, is that now you're kind of put in the position where I think it's like 17% of your stack has to go in at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, it is what it is, but you have to call.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in position too, so you get to see what they do.
So flop comes Jack 5-5 rainbow. So pretty good flop for Jack 10, but then the Pro leads out for 35, and Maniac calls. Oh shoot. So you decide to call the turn, or frick, oh my gosh.
Flop.
Why is it still going?
Whoa.
Oh my gosh, we got way ahead of ourselves. Oh my gosh, we are
Yeah,
now
back it up,
paused. We do not know what the other we are definitely gonna refresh this hand. That is not ideal. So what are you thinking on this flop of Jack 5-5 when he leads into you for 35 and the Maniac calls? Let's go faster.
Yeah, so I think this is where I probably make a mistake in the hand. Number one, I don't think it's like, maybe it's not a huge mistake, but because I feel like I'm getting like a fair price. because here's the thing. I think that the pro has some bluffs in his range. You know, he does have ace king in his range.
Yep.
He may have even king queen suited at times, not very often, but it's possible. And so he has all the combos there, and then he bets the same amount that he raised to pre-flop. So
That's interesting.
that's also what kind of made me think he might be weak. And then the maniac calls, and so the maniac at this point he can have anything from deuces through tens, like right now. Like he can even have a worse jack. Like he can have a lot of things. I definitely think I have one of the players in the hand. And so then when he calls, I think, okay, well, now I'm getting a pretty good price. I'm not totally sure that the pro has it here. I don't think that the maniac has anything that is super significant, and I'm getting a really good price. So I don't know.
I also think one more thing to add is that you also block the only super dominating hand that can exist that he could possibly have, which is jacks.
Right.
And like the one thing that I see is like if the pro is going to lead a boat here, which he probably shouldn't.
He's not. He's not.
He's
leading
not
against the
right.
maniac. He's
but
never.
It's hard.
leading
It's hard
with
to think of like why is he down betting so small here?
I
Like,
think he could have a ton of hands. I don't hate the down bet.
You don't
I think
hate- I mean, I don't hate
ace
it
queen
either.
could bet this way. I think eights nines could bet this way. I think nines.
But what is that bet
we
for
block
then?
tens and jacks. You want ace high to call you, or you just want to take it
You
down?
just want overs to call you?
Yeah, I think
it's kind of
the
a dry
maniac
flop.
could easily have king queen off here. King 10.
Okay.
I don't think the maniac has it. I think the maniac raises on this dry board because he's bad. I mean, I don't know. But it's weird because I feel like you're ahead here. I don't expect the pro to have king jacks. Maybe he has an ace jack suited sometimes. Queen jack suited, sure. He definitely has the
but
nines,
I mean, like,
tens.
we block a lot of. I mean, there's only 2 jacks available. There's a lot
Yeah.
of ace jack, king jack that he could have here, but
I don't
much
think he
ace jack,
raises
king jack
king
is he
jack.
raising? Right.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
exactly.
saying. The pre-flop
Exactly.
raise kind of takes those combos out.
Yeah, so
It's 2 overs a lot.
calls,
I agree with what you're
calls
saying.
fine. Turn comes an ace. Pretty horrible card for you. And then the maniac checks, pro checks, maniac leads for 130, which pushes you all in. You can't like that turn card, but at the same time, you have to call 130 to win a pot that's now 344. So you're
Little
getting
more,
amazing
yeah.
odds against a maniac. I think it's fairly straightforward. I think you just have to call here. I don't know what percentage of the time you're good here, but what ace does he float you with? I mean, ace queen? I feel like ace queen suited almost re-raises. Ace king re-raises. Ace jack, maybe. I feel like he would re-raise flop me. I don't know. I feel like you're good here most of the time, which is the weird thing.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of meta on this turn, and in this whole hand really.
Meta.
Because I have
I love meta.
such a history with both players really. I think that the pro at this point either has pocket aces that he's now checking to get to not blow everyone off the hand when he has the essential nuts. Or he has a hand like kings or queens possibly. He could also have that he does not like the ace. The hand that he was targeting before, possibly ace jack, something like that, is now is now beating him. So I think he's checking there to give up actually. And then the maniac, I know he likes to think that he's like a stinking player, I think, but he looked at the guy and I think that he jammed right away. And I do not think that was because he has an ace or a five.
Yeah.
And because of that, now I'm like, all right, I do think that the pro and the small blind has maybe with kings or queens or maybe a better jack sometimes, they're something like that. But I know that he can't call this turn, especially after I called the shove on the button. So at that point, I'm thinking, I think this is a snap call because I think the maniac is trying to bluff the pro, and because of that, I think I have the maniac beat, and so I called, and the folded.
And River was a brick, and Evan scoops. Did the
What did the-
maniac?
Yeah,
I'm
the
assuming he
maniac
just
was
mucked.
So the maniac showed pocket tens,
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
What was
Yeah.
the board again, Bryce?
It was Jack 5-5 Ace brick.
So
Wow.
yeah, Jack
Oh,
5-5,
frick.
ace. Yeah, and then I talked to the pro afterward, and I asked him about it because like him and I are, we're not like friends or anything, but we talk and stuff at the card room, and we're friendly there. I asked him, I was like, man, what did you have there? And he was like, I had pocket nines actually, and I was like, oh wow, okay. So he's
I
getting
think
like,
that makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
for his bet, for his flop bet.
yep, I think so too.
Pre-flop, I mean, I play that the same way, but that's just because I love nines. Nines is my
You're
hand.
crazy.
Like
Yeah,
that's
I don't know if
you have to
I
have
would
some
not
3-bet
3-bet
bluffs.
Evan. Evan's button with nines.
Yeah, that's fair because I know Evan. I wouldn't do that with nines from the small blind. I don't
Yeah.
want to play that out of position.
Yeah,
So this last hand, we're actually going to just have Evan stay on, partially being he was on the table. He's not in the hand, but I think he can offer some good feedback.
Yes.
It's a 1-2 game. I think I actually show all three hands because I didn't know who to make the hero because both me and Ryan were in this hand.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting hand. You'll see what we get. Ryan wakes up with kings, and he makes it 8.
Under the gun, standard race. I always
don't
go.
know if-
"Ooh, under
You
the
normally
gun."
go too small. You normally go 6, 7, 8. 8 signaled strength to me, and this is also funny because we were on call at the time. So I'll explain how that
right.
manifests later. So Trollin makes the call, which is why his cards are also showing. And in the small blind, 5-6 of hearts, I decide to make the call. I expect Ryan to be strong here, and if I hit some crazy 2-pair flush draw, I can continue with. I don't mind my call at all. Obviously, it's a little loose, but putting him on a strong hand, if I hit, I'm gonna.
I think specifically out of the small blind, it's a little loose because I don't know who's in seat 1 because now you're taking 5-6 suited 4 ways to a flop.
I think I need to remember who seat 1 is. I expected seat 1 to fold, which is
Right.
interesting.
That's what I'm saying. Is if that was what you expected, then I totally respect the call. But if you
And
have someone
Trollin
who's
is loose.
stickier,
It's also who we're playing against. Like
Fair.
Trollin, I'm very confident in playing against post flop because he overvalues hands and he bluffs a lot. So he's not a bad player whatsoever, but he likes to bluff and he likes to put money in the pot. So with a suited connector
Action
here,
player.
even though it's
We'll
kind
call
of
him
an
that.
ass suited connector, I'm
Right.
playing it all day long. So the
Daniel
the
Negreanu
freaking
would
flop.
love that.
Yeah, oh he would. Flop comes little juicy. King 7 queen 3
Boom.
yards. I'm checking here, and Ryan decides to bet.
Right. So
oh, wow, why is it going
you're
so
still playing.
quickly?
It's on play. It's on play. That's why it's not on pause.
Oh wow. Well, we just saw everything that just happened.
Okay.
So
imagine what's going to happen on a flop like this too.
were we?
Yeah, the problem is that we
A
kind
lot
of
of
have to
money's
go through
got
each
him.
action as it happens because
Oh, we will.
it just gets more and more ridiculous as it goes. But yes, so Bryce checks out of the small
Unrefreshing.
blind, and I am here under the gun with kings. I flop top set on a monotone board. I'm betting this
You say
because
monotone board? It's 3 hearts.
it's a monotone board.
Oh yes.
As in
Sorry.
one-
Sorry. Yes,
one tone?
Yes.
Not
yes,
a
yes,
multi-tone.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Monotone. Anyway.
I understand.
Yeah. So I mean, I the funny part is like looking back at this hand, I think I make a mistake later, but I think betting out here with kings isn't the most unreasonable thing in the world.
No,
I think
you totally have to bet.
I have to bet. Right. That's what I think even 3 ways I have to bet because there's a lot that's here, and I think that because both of you flatted, I mean, right. The worst case scenario is that Bryce has something like 5-6 suited. But I think that a lot of
I could have ace 4, ace 5 of hearts and just
Right,
decide
you
to
could
not
easily
put the
have
3-bet
that.
in.
No, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I think that it's more weighted towards unsuited combos of aces that might call, like ace 10. And I mean, that's what I'm saying is the suited connectors are the ones that I was really scared of.
That's
So I was
fair.
like, oh, Jesus, like what flats me here and has me beat is like Jack 10, 10, 9, all the way down to 5-6, apparently.
So Trollin's call here, I totally think makes sense. I mean, he has the nut
Perfect.
flush blocker. I
Yep.
mean, he has a straight draw. I mean, if you have aces, you bet. You have kings, you bet. You have queens, you bet. You have the thing is though, like you don't have many ace jack of hearts, and I don't think he does either.
Yep.
I think he has it way more than you have it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just don't expect you guys to have that. So with 5-6 of hearts, I'm put in a tough spot. There's a bet and a call in front of me, and I quite literally say on call, Ryan, you have kings. I'm gonna price you.
It was the most ridiculous thing too, because I was sitting there, I was just like, I can't believe he just called it perfectly. Like he just knows
I don't know
exactly
what he's gonna
I
bet.
have.
He has kings or queens here, and I got lucky, thought he had kings, and I think I just have to make him pay to see a turn. Obviously, if he boats up, he's good, but I'm gonna charge him for it.
Right.
So
Your raise makes perfect sense. Flopping a flush, like
I raised to 52, and it's
Yeah.
almost small, but I'm pretty damn confident I'm good, and that's setting up a turn. Just rip. I'm gonna rip it on every single turn. So I just wanted some value, and you call and troll and shoves.
this is where it all goes downhill, right? Like I could have flatted here, Trolling could have flatted behind with the ace high flush draw, and we could have seen a turn. But
I'm in agony. Like him raising, yeah, he blocks it, so I wonder what he thinks I have here. But like I think he must think I have a flush. Like I'm not gonna raise a set here. I'm just
that's
not.
what I'm saying.
So do I have 10 jack of hearts, straight flush draw? I mean, I don't know. He doesn't have much behind, so I guess if he's gonna put any more money in the pot, he wants to put max pressure now. But I just don't think
when it
I'm
goes
folding
check,
often.
bet, call, re-raise, or you check raise, like what are the
So
odds you have anything other than a flush?
Yeah, exactly. I'm in agony when he jams, but like I feel like he'd want to charge with the nut flush draw. He'd want to
Right.
charge kings, and I don't. If he has ace jack, that's really the only combo he should have. I guess he could have 10 jack of hearts here that just doesn't want to let it go, but I don't know. He doesn't have that much behind, so I just stack off here. Well, actually, I don't. I call him.
Yeah, so here's what happens, right? And this is where I think I make the mistake, is Bryce flats the shove, and it's back onto me.
I actually don't think that makes much sense, but I didn't I kind of knew what you had, and I was just gonna jam turn. It doesn't make sense.
I made a mistake here because the fact of the matter was until he had made this re-raise, like I already had $50 invested. It was only like 50 something to call. So
I wanted you to call. I think that was
right.
my logic.
I could have
think
easily
I knew you
called
had kings,
behind.
and if
I could have
rip
easily
it,
called behind.
Yeah.
And I chose to rip it, which I think is a mistake in hindsight.
But
I
have 125 behind. If the turn comes a deuce of clubs and I rip it, are you folding?
Am I folding top set? Yeah, probably.
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't think you should. There's too much money in the pot, and you have so many outs.
Yeah.
You have the
Okay,
deuces,
that's true.
the sevens,
That's true.
the queens.
I didn't think about that because you only have 125 back. I
don't mind the rip. Yeah, there's no money left, and it's not like we're like $10,000 deep. Like,
right.
I think you just have to stack.
No,
off
but
here.
there's still a lot back. Like,
There's
I mean,
$125. Do you see how big the pot is?
oh, never mind. Right, you don't have that much back. That's the difference. Okay, so you
Yeah.
got 125 back, and there's like 400 in the pot because there ended up being like 6 something. So okay, yeah, I guess I can't fault myself too much for a rip here.
So the turn brings a beautiful card for both of us. It is the
Slow motion.
Jack of Hearts.
And literally, I heard the noise that Bryce made when this card hit the board, and it sounded like just a deflating balloon. Just like,
I'd been running bad all day. I was down like $600.
You were so hyped when you saw you got it in against the nut
stuck.
flush draw and kings. You were like, yes!
Then the heart I'm just dead. I'm dead.
It's so hard because, there's so much card removal in this right now. Like there's the 5, 6, ace, king, 7, and queen of all these hearts are accounted for. So those are outs that you don't have.
Right.
Lucky for you, you're not dead, so you're still sitting
Yeah,
there sweating this
that's what I'm
last
saying.
card.
I was sweating the river because on the turn, no matter what, I pick up outs because I can now pair whatever the board card is. And
I just walked away.
I was just like, I have 12 outs. I have 12 outs. Like he hit what was probably like a 9 outer. I can't remember the math, but
Ace on the river, and
There was
ace 10
much
off scoops the
confusing.
$700 pot. So what can you do?
heartbreak.
Well,
both
to be fair, you did win a side pot in that hand.
I did.
Yeah, Bryce did win the side
I won
pot.
like $120 rebate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got a
you-
120 rebate. Yeah.
Yeah, you did actually break even in that hand, I think.
I did not break even. I was
Yeah,
220 deep, and I got 120 side pot.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, well,
But,
whatever.
I lost like $100, but it stung.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I lost a lot more than that, and it stunk a lot worse.
Yeah, well, you think top set's good there?
Yeah, I think
Ever,
top
you
set's good
freaking
there
noob?
ever. Should have just laid it down pre-flop. Oh, king's under the gun. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, It played itself. I
think it did. I think that's part of the problem is that this kind of hand tends to play itself when this situation occurs. I think, it would have been fine if Trollin had flatted and the jack comes on the turn and then, not all this money had to go in. But because Trollin shoved, the rest of the money was going in. Like, there's just no way, given the hands Bryce and I had, that the money was
I don't know. I think I wanted to explain my turn call because I think if the board wasn't exactly what it was, I think I can get away from it.
Right.
If the king and the queen weren't there, I don't think I make this call. And someone actually messaged me. They're like, "Oh, like if this was PLO, I was snap folding." I was like, "Obviously, if this was PLO, I'm snap folding." Like, is that a question? Like, this only happens because it's hold'em and because of the card removal and because of the pre-flop action.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Yeah. Just with the king and queen of hearts removed, that's really important.
That's
but yeah, I mean,
made a huge mistake here. Honestly, I think that there's a couple like minor things that could have been maybe changed, but it doesn't. It's not a huge. I think you're right. When Trollin shoves, the thing is, Trollin can have a lot. Like, I mean, Trollin could have sevens here. Like, I mean, there's a lot that he can have, and so it just makes it to where kings it's just going to be a three-way all-in almost 100% of the time.
Yeah, cooler, but it happens. But yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast today, Evan. I don't think we're going to do the fourth hand because I don't have the share my pair up for that, and it's also not that interesting of a hand.
This worked out great,
But yeah, I feel like we're good.
Okay.
What did you say, Evan?
What did you
Sorry,
say?
I didn't know. I can't remember what hand it was. But
the fourth hand wasn't yours. It was it was actually, we could go over. It was my ace king versus his jack's hand. If you know the hand I'm talking about.
Oh, the one, yeah.
I actually don't remember. So
let me pull it up.
Okay.
Oh, you definitely remember it because we talked about it earlier. I don't think Ryan was on call with me, but he wasn't at the. I don't know if you're at the table.
No, I was at the table. I was there.
Anyways, so
it was really crazy. You can bring it up on the screen, can't you?
I don't know if I have everything written out. I don't. So I'm just gonna talk.
You can wing it. Just zoom in so people can see, and then wing it.
Sure. So middle position, I have ace king off, and people just love to call my raises, so I can go bigger than literally anyone on the table and get calls.
It's annoying.
So I raised it 330, and I get a call from C4 in the hijack and Fanakai in the cutoff. And the flop comes 10-4-6, two clubs. And I play this hand really interestingly. I normally don't play a hand like this, but I want to explain my logic. So I bet 480 into 20. Very small. What bets like this, you ask? Well, ace king bets like this, apparently. But I think I'd bet a pair plus flush draw here is almost what I'm repping.
Yep.
I feel like ace 10 of clubs, I would bet this exact way. King 10 of clubs, queen 10, obviously, all those hands. And I expect this not to hit their range often at all. Fanakai, I feel like, might have some of the sets here, but he plays very tight, very straightforward, and I expect him to fold to virtually any bet on the flop. So I'm really just trying to go heads up against C4. Actually, I'm obviously just trying to get them both to fold, but C4 makes a call, and when he calls, I don't expect him to have that many tens, and if he does, it might be 10-jack, 9-10, something of that nature. So I still feel like I can get him off this hand depending on what the turn card is. So yeah, what do you guys think of that line so far?
Yeah. So I like it. I like the small bet here with the ace king because I think you're keeping his range really wide. You're making it to where he can call you with a lot of different things that he might not normally be able to call you with, but that he will probably end up holding on later streets. Right?
Exactly. So obviously I'm not planning to bet fold. I'm planning to barrel basically the whole way.
Yeah,
I think the thing is, like, also you've bet so small that you also make it seem like you have ace king, or you have like a club draw here or a pair plus club draw because you're setting a good price for yourself for someone to call and you to hit. So you're going to get calls from hands like sevens, eights, things like that probably wouldn't call.
Jack queen even 2 overs.
Yeah, 2 overs is probably calling that because you're getting pretty good odds here.
Yeah. So C4 makes the call, Fanakai folds, and the turn comes a 7 of diamonds. So the board is now 10-4-6-7, 2 clubs, 2 diamonds. I actually wish I'd sized up a little on the turn, so I end up betting 13-20 just because I feel like this card didn't help him. I don't expect him to have 8-9 for a gut shot. I mean, he could have it and call, but pre-flop, I don't see him calling 330 with 8-9. I mean, maybe if it's suited, but I feel like this is just better for my range in the sense that it shouldn't have hit his. Not even in the sense that it helps mine, but I feel like if I have the ace 10, the pairs plus flush draws, he shouldn't have many sevens here, and he shouldn't have many straights. So I'm basically just continuing the story that I have him beat.
Right, and that's another thing too, is that the hands that we talked about that he might call you with on the flop may have picked up outs here. Eights picks up outs, nines picks up outs. So hands like that can now call something that's maybe a little bit bigger because now they've picked up more outs than just, it's hitting a set on the river.
The thing is, if he calls me here, I don't expect him to have, a straight or even like ace 10. I feel like I should have heard from by now.
Right.
So
I
I'm
agree.
putting him on a brick river. I just want to rip it. Or even if it's a diamond, I don't expect him to have too many backdoor diamond draws. So I expect to just barrel 80% of rivers. So the river comes a 9 of diamonds, bringing 4 to a straight. Flush gets there. Everything gets there. So I decide to bet 31 into 46, and he tanks really long. And he comments something. I think he says in the chat, "I have jacks," which obviously,
yeah, he did.
I don't love to hear, but at the same time, I think he can get away from jacks like most of the time here. Unless he's putting me on 10 plus a club draw, I don't know how he can call this. Am I really going to go for that sized value with a 10? I'm not. With 4 to a straight and a backdoor flush draw getting there, I don't bet that. So I guess in that sense it polarizes my range, but I think I have the straights, the flushes, the overpairs, the 9-10. I just don't know if he can profitably make this call most of the time. And Evan talked to me about it today, and he's like, this guy just doesn't like to lay down hands, especially on the river. He's a little bit of a Nemi, but I think Nemi folds this hand.
I agree.
think against higher level pros, he finds the fold. I think this is a hero call. What does he beat? Tell me a hand that play ace king. What else plays it this way? And bets 3 streets, especially in lower stakes, I feel like you find players normally don't 3-barrel bluff. Obviously some people are capable of it, but on this board too, I'm shocked he made the call. I didn't put him on jacks. I didn't put him that strong, but nice call.
Well, I think for my opinion on the hand, so I think on the river you're right. I think that he should definitely be laying down jacks here. I don't see what he thinks he's beating, other than literally ace king. And the issue that I find in the hand, when he said, "Oh, I hate jacks" in the chat, I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, because I was like, "Okay, Bryce has it."
I thought he was calling.
Yeah.
I thought he was calling.
When he said that, I was like, he's got jacks. He's never gonna fold an overpair. Are you kidding? And I think that's where a lot of guys like the three of us, right? That's where we make a lot of our money in poker, is people not being able to fold hands like this. And I think that's why this hand in this moment is a mistake, right? Because I don't want to get too deep into strategy, but
no, go for it. We could got an hour time frame.
That's not why, but I don't.
I'm dead.
I think that it's just basically so much of the money that's going to be made in the micros and even in low stakes is from value hands, right? Now we have to look at why is that. It's because people don't like to fold. They overvalue and they overpay for their equity in a hand, right? And so jacks has very little equity, if not zero equity in this hand, almost the whole way. And so, for a guy like that, I think that's why it's a mistake, because it's really going to be hard for him to fold that. And then also, this is the last point. I think the 9 river is really, I think that's actually really good for his range, right? I think that he can have
Interesting.
I think that he can have flush draws. I think that he can have all of those hands. And that's why I probably would have given up. Now, if I had known he had jacks,
I shove. I go bigger. I actually
That's
don't
what I'm
regret
thinking.
betting. I wish I'd gone
Right.
bigger.
I was about to
And
say,
Ryan,
I
I was talking to Ryan. I was like, I want to make it look value-y, but I also want him to fold. And I sized up above what Ryan thought I should put it at. I was like, look, I'm going for this.
Right,
And,
right. Because I also wasn't factoring in the fact that it was, he's making a pretty significant bluff here.
Yeah.
I think it depends on who it is, though. I think it totally depends on who it is. I think T-Bone calls me off here. I think Trolling calls me off here. I think Ryan folds.
I fold.
Don't have enough meta with you, Evan, but I think you fold too. I think you because I don't think I make this bluff that often.
Right.
So I think that helped my image. Sure, I bluff hands way more than most people in the club, but I don't think I bluff this hand on this board often at all.
I mean, one of the things that it also brings up is that did this situation end up getting you paid at any point further down the road?
I think it does, and that's why I don't regret it.
Right, and I also think that partially because this wasn't a huge pot, like sure, you lost, would you lose? Like
50
bucks
or something?
Right, but
Yeah.
I think it's going to get you more value when you get into all-in or bigger situations. So,
I've 2x
it's not the end of the world when you
pot
lost.
shoved and people call me for value.
Yeah.
Like it's so sick.
Yeah.
So I
So
think
if you get to
doing
show
these
Ace
plays-
King one time, is it the end of
Yeah.
the world? $50?
Absolutely not.
Some EV there. That's the thing is like if people think you're incapable of bluffing, then they're just not going to call you in these spots because you always have it. Right? Like that's what I'm saying. Is like I have to incorporate more bluffs into my game because people literally call me Ryan the Rock. And I mean they're not wrong. Like I think I make profitable folds at places. Like
depending on like in a club that plays too loose,
I make really way too loose. Yeah.
Against
I
higher
fold too
level
much.
players, I think you got to loosen up a little. But I mean, obviously you're very good, but just adjusting to your table and image.
It's important. I'm learning. Everyone's learning. I keep getting better.
Exactly. Never stop learning. But yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up. Very much appreciate having you on the podcast, Evan.
Thank you,
have
Evan.
Nice have you a year down the road or something. So next week I think we're gonna have She Was Only 22 on, and then the next week we are having WinoPoker on. So definitely get excited for that. It's gonna be awesome. And thank you guys for listening. Some of you listened the whole way, so very much appreciate that. And send your hand histories in.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Good night.
See ya.